offices, they work hand in hand with the federal civil service. Okay, take for instance, in the course of promotion, we said normally promotion appointment, they are being handled by the Federal Civil Service Commission. However, this Federal Civil Service Commission also in turn mandates NDAs to carry out appointments, promotion, and discipline on their own, but with recourse to them. However, while this is done, there is a synergy between them and some of the offices under the office of the head of the federation, so that things can work together. Then the civil service is said, as we said, it is practically divided into two structures: the vertical structure and the horizontal structure. Now, the vertical structure of the civil service has what we call the presidency, the ministries, and the extra-ministerial. What it means, if you look at the civil service itself, is either you have a ministry, where you don't have a ministry, you have a department, where you don't have a department, you have an agency. And where it does not fall within the three of these, it could be under presidency. For instance, the State House is an office under the presidency. The office of the Secretary of the Government of the Federation is an office under the presidency. Then when you come to the ministry, you have Ministry of Information, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of, and so on. Then when you come to department, you have the Federal Inland Revenue, the Federal Inland Revenue. You also have a Code of Conduct Bureau. They all fall under what we call the extra-ministerial. When you come to what we call the horizontal structure of civil service, the horizontal structure of civil service, if you watch the presidency, the vertical structure we talked about, if you watch the presidency, the ministry, the departments, the agencies, or the extra-ministerial, you discover that there are similar departments that cuts across all of them. For instance, if you go, let's take for instance Ministry of Education, which is under the Ministry of Education. If you go to Ministry of Education, you will definitely get a department that is called Human Resource. If you go to extra-ministerial office like Code of Conduct Bureau, you also get a department that is called Human Resource. If you watch both of them, you discover that they do similar functions, they carry out similar activities. Now, the horizontal structure simply means a certain function that is being carried out across board in the vertical structure. You see, Department of Finance, you find it in all the function they do. The functions are all almost similar in all of them. Human Resources, same thing. Procurement, same thing. Just like that. So that is called the horizontal structure of a civil service. Now, briefly, let's look at what we call the core principles of civil service. What are the core principles of civil services? Now, as a service itself, there are things that guide the civil service. Now, in an acronym, I tag this STEP. The acronym is called STEP, where S stands for stewardship, T stands for trust, E stands for engagement, and P stands for professionalism. Now, the civil service is supposed to be accountable to government and to the public. That is where the word stewardship comes from. Then trust. You must be reliable. You must be reliable. You must be dependable at any time. That's where the trust comes from. Then engagement. You engage both the public and the private sector. You must be room for the civil service to engage the people, whether public or private. Then professionalism. The civil service must be professional in carrying out their daily activities. Now that takes us to the civil service function. Basically, there are different functions in civil service. Civil service, as we said before, is an institution of government. It's an organ of government. It's an organ of government, as we said before. It's an organ of government started with government businesses. You know, once again, civil service enjoys continuity. It enjoys continuity, which means even when one government comes, if one government leaves, another comes, civil service continues. Now, let's look at the functions of civil service. Number one, formulation of government policies and programs. They help government to formulate policies and programs. Two, these policies from the head government also to execute these government policies. These policies are from the head government to execute policies. Then three, they provide continuity between administrations. That is what we just said some few minutes ago. Civil service is a it enjoys what we call continuity. which means if one administration leaves and another comes, civil service is still there to serve as an engine for subsequent government. Then the fourth one, they advise government on implication of policies. Once policies are made, the civil service will say, advise government, government, these are certain implications that may arise from these policies. Then again, they protect public interest. The civil service ensures that public interests are always being protected. Like the Consumer Protection Council, for instance, an institution of government, they always ensure that what consumers are taking or buying, their rights are always being protected. Again, civil service serves as a unifying factor. When I mean unifying factor, what I mean by unifying factor? I mean a kind of an emulsifying agent. It brings both the public and the private sector together. Here you have PPP, public-private partnership. The civil service helps to bridge that gap. It brings, now these functions stated are just few of other functions in the civil service. Then we look at the code of ethics in civil service. The code of ethics in civil service. When we talk about code, let's not get confused. There's a difference between core principles and code of ethics. Now, the core principle itself affects the service, the generator of the service as an institution, as an organ. Now, when we're talking about the core principle, we're talking about you as a civil servant, you as an individual, you as a civil servant. What's the principles that are supposed to guide you, the things that are supposed to guide you. Now, we have core principles mainly is just like a culture based on values, a culture based on values and principles that are supposed to lead individual or a civil servant in discharging his or her responsibilities. Now let's look at a few of them. First of all, first among the list is political neutrality. As a civil servant, it is highly needed that you must be politically neutral. The civil service is not in any way, that does not mean as a political servant you must not get a voter's card, you must not go register to get a voter card. No, you must ensure to get a voter card. You must also ensure to exercise your civic responsibility by casting your vote when necessary. In any case, that does not mean as a civil servant you have the right to contest for any political office while you are still in the service. No. If you must do that, there are two ways. If you must do that, you must find a way to leave the service and carry on with your political whatever. Now, the civil service has nothing to do practically with politics. It has to be politically neutral. Then we have integrity. The civil servant must be highly embedded with integrity. You cannot be found misappropriating government funds or even public funds, no, private funds, no. The word integrity must, then again, you must be skillful, which is professionalism. It's also one of the code of ethics in civil service. You must be skillful in what you are doing. The more that professionalism must be there. Then 3, conflict of interest. The interest we're talking about here is personal. You must not bring your personal interest first ahead of government interest. No, they must, where both clashes, where you have your own personal interest and government and public interest coming together, your own interest must be subdued. So that conflict of interest should not be there at all. Then the next one is discipline. Civil servants are expected to be highly disciplined in whatever they are doing. In the course of discharging your duty, you must be very disciplined. Then loyal. You must be loyal to authorities. As a civil servant, you must be loyal to your boss. As a civil servant, you must be loyal to the government. The government that pays you must be loyal to them. Then honesty is a key. As a civil servant, you must be honest. You must be straightforward. You must be reliable and dependable. Then courtesy. It is only necessary that when you are dealing with both private, you just have to be polite in how you address them, in how you meet their daily activities. You have to be polite. Then courage. You must show that courage while you are carrying out your activity. Courage must be there. Then you must be industrious. Industrious simply means you must be hardworking. As a civil servant, if you are not hardworking, it affects the service itself. You must be hardworking. Then you must avoid the issue of delay. Some civil servants are so fond of that. When files are given for them to treat, they want to delay, and it creates more costs on the part of the government. It really injures the government. So avoidance of delay is very necessary. You must be neat, tidiness. Your office is neat, your work, your paperwork, everything is tidy. Civil servant must be very up and doing about that. Then helpfulness. You can lay hands and assist your fellow colleagues as well as the private sector. Then efficiency. There must be productivity in what you do. There must be productivity in what you do. Your input and your output, when your output must speak the volume of what has been put inside of you. Then national, above all, as a civil servant, the issue of national consciousness, which is one of the core principles of it, must lie in the hearts of everyone. We'll talk about one Nigeria. We'll talk about national consciousness. We'll talk about one Nigeria. The issue of one Nigeria should not be a place of debate in the heart of any civil servant at all. So everything first, Nigeria comes first. In your operation, Nigeria comes first. Not you as an individual, not any other thing. In everything, that national consciousness must be there. So these are some of the core principles of civil service. For now, these are the few things we want to talk about civil service. However, we still have lots of this coming our ways. Perhaps in our next section, in our next class, we still have more of this coming our way. Thank you for listening.